My name is Veronica Valdovinos, and this is my 11th year in education. I graduated from the University of Texas at San Antonio with a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Interdisciplinary Studies. I currently work in San Antonio as an instructional coach, but have taught both first and fourth grades. When I look at the overall person that I have become, there are a few things that have always been true. Since I was little, education was always in my bones. From making my cousins play school with me to being so excited about starting school that it felt like August would never come. Growing up, my mother always made sure to let her children know how important having an education was. The one thing she knew would give us a better life was having a college degree. Education is naturally a socio-political topic in our society. The strongest single motivation in wanting to become a school leader is the belief that every child can learn when given the tools to do so. Schools are the single motivation for students for learning and opportunity. In a leadership role, there is an opportunity to elevate and support educators, build relationships with families and members of the community, and shape school culture that is not only positive but is responsive to not only students but teachers as well. No matter what role we play in the education system, it is our job to make sure that all students have equitable access no matter where they live or who they are. Students have a right to learn no matter their circumstances, and educators need to advocate for their students. There are many known inequities in schools. Some of these are solely based on a zip code. As Anion pointed out, with an increase of the social class of the community, there was also an increase of teacher materials, supplies, services, and expectations. It is our duty to have a commitment to social justice in our educational system. Research critically analyzes the information and explains it as a banking system. Anion goes into the social class of the community a school serves and talks about the ethical implications of education children are receiving. We can make connections in the interdisciplinary department by creating equitable access to the students we serve. There are many different types of learning theories that address how children and adults can learn. Different learning theories help both teachers and writers of curriculum design lessons and activities that address each of the learning styles. Knowing the different learning styles helps the lessons and activities be consistent and effective. However, as curriculum writers or educators, we also need to know what things to put together and what activities will be in conflict with one another. What I found to be important in Piaget's learning theory was the fact that learning takes place in stages. We as educators need to be aware of these stages to know what is developmentally appropriate for students to learn. There have been many people who have tried to find an explanation for behavior. In Skinner's article, it explains that our mind is responsible for us being aware of the world and our experiences. Our behavior is reinforced or strengthened because of the subsequent consequence for that behavior. Modeling and teaching are the functions of our social environments. Behavior, therefore, is caused by operant conditioning. What I found most interesting in the Skinner article was the thought of learning theory being a result of an experience a student has. Although as an educator I have used this theory many times, it is not one I would want to solely rely on. If this was the only way a student learned behavior or learning, they would never seek out information intrinsically. Social constructivism really drove home a point that has been relayed to me over the last 5 years. This is the learning theory I use more frequently in the classroom with my students. A small group or student collaboration is vital, I believe, with social constructivism the learning becomes fun, which makes students eager to learn. Leib and Wenger's learning theory of legitimate peripheral participation says that knowledge needs to be presented in authentic contexts, settings, and situations that would normally involve that knowledge. Social interaction and collaboration are essential components of situated learning as learners become involved in a community of practice. This embodies certain beliefs and behaviors to be acquired. As he or she becomes more active and engaged within the culture, eventually he or she will assume the role of an expert. Learning, both outside and inside school, advances through collaborative social interaction and the social construction of knowledge. Constructivism learning theory is student-centered and emphasizes discovery learning. In this model, students are encouraged to work with objects in the real world and use what they already know to gain more knowledge. The point is to make the process of thinking and learning visible and to allow for a more process-oriented engagement with an idea that is constructed and deconstructed. Under constructionism, teachers take a backseat role as facilitators of student learning instead of giving lectures or step-by-step instruction. As Knowles points out about adult learning, much of what we know we have taken from research about how children learn. But these theories are not complex enough for adult learning. Knowles' andragogical theory is based on 4 assumptions. 1. Changes in self-concept, the role of experience, the readiness to learn, and the orientation to learning. Teachers need to draw on these theories when thinking about an effective adult learning environment. They assume a high degree of responsibility for learning to be taken on by the adult learner. Sometimes the adults we work with have not learned to be self-directing inquirers and are dependent on teachers to teach them. So in that sense, we also need to build designs that are teaching them to be self-learners. When looking at my professional work and future, my plan of action to integrate ideas from these courses are many. One example I have recognized this will happen in my work is my ability to be data-driven. Looking at data is not the only thing, but it is important when planning and tailoring student goals and activities. Those in education need to design learning goals based on the different learning theories for students so that students' individual strengths are incorporated. When I am planning lessons and activities with teachers, I am always thinking of learner-centered environment. The students in the classrooms come from different backgrounds and are all at different levels of learning. There is no one way of teaching that will suit all students, so instruction should try to be tailored to meet their individual needs. Activities in learner-centered curriculum should also be engaging to the students so that they become invested in their own learning in all content areas. I believe that all students, when given the opportunity to think critically, to be challenged yet supported, will learn and be successful.